Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com is our email address. You can subscribe to the FloTrack podcast YouTube page where you can find all of our clips, all of our old shows. Also, listen to the audio form wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. We got the pickup contest going this weekend. Gordon, how confident are you about your two picks? We got one from the Stanford Invite 5K and just another one. So there's only two total this week. The other one from the Florida Relays. How confident are you that you're 2 for 2 this week?
Very confident. On a scale of 1 to very, I'm very. I mean, the odds are I have a 25% chance of the results. Go 0 for 2, 1 for 2, 1 for 2, or 2 for 2. And I think I'm going to go 2 for 2. So, yeah, I think half the pros are going to be running some fast times. So 2 of the 4 pro times will be the fastest at Florida Relays. And I think Charles Hicks will win on his home track. He is the coming off of a really good, kind of low-key indoor season where he kind of started slow but ended strong. Ran well in I believe the 3K final. So going with Charles Hicks and 2 pro teams. Those are my picks.
I got Kemboy and 4 pro teams. The low number, though, is giving me flashbacks to the Tokyo Marathon when I for sure thought I was going to go 100%, and you just destroyed me. Just completely destroyed me and really shattered my confidence. Luckily, I got it back NCAA indoors when there was a bunch of picks. I think the way I think about this stuff is the more picks, the more the better I feel because I don't feel the pressure to go perfect. And I think the shorter picks or the fewer picks are more difficult for me. What do you hear? Are you hearing anything about that Stanford Invite 5K? We talked about the 10,000, how fast we thought it would go. Anything about the pace or the expectations for the 5,000?
I've not heard anything. Again, we talked about that on Wednesday, how these early college time trial type meets can always go one of 2 ways. It could go the top 48 route where it's kind of slow, but you're just there to get a qualifier, or it could go quick where you like, hey, we're here. We flew all the way out here. We have good weather. We have good pacing. Might as well get something out of it beyond just a slow qualifying mark. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I also haven't asked anyone. I'm not sure if you know this, Kevin, but this past week,
Yeah.
I've been injured, so I haven't really been doing as much investigative journalism as I should. Not that I do investigative journalism in the first place, but one thing about my injury, yesterday I was like, man, I feel like I'm going to recover from this pretty quickly. Like, yeah, I'm in pain, but it's not that bad anymore, and I can feel like I can function a lot easier. And then I realized, no, that's just the pain meds working. Because then I woke up this morning after not having a pain medication in my system, and I was in a lot of pain. So the 6 to 8 week recovery is not going to be 1 to 2 weeks. It's definitely going to be 6 to 8 weeks, unfortunately, for me. I learned that this morning.
And on today's edition of Travels with Gordon and Kevin, 2 days ago, I took Gordon to the Apple store at a mall. We went to a real mall in the year 2022 because it was the closest Apple store to Gordon's house. They exist. Colt, I'll tell you, man, it smells exactly the same. Gordon was fascinated by the Build-A-Bear shop, which had like 5 employees, a bunch of bears, and 1 customer. It was really disorienting. The Easter Bunny was there. Gordon got a picture of it. He made an Instagram post about it that I presume has gone viral at this point. But Gordon got his computer fixed, but he was really insistent. It was a funny situation here. The guy was basically telling Gordon, your computer's good. You don't need to pay anything. And Gordon kept saying, so I need to pay something, right? And the guy's like, no, it's good. It might break in the future and then bring it in and we'll fix it. But as of right now, you could pay us money to fix it, but you don't need to because it's working. And it took a couple go rounds there. By the way, there's a million employees at the Apple Store too. It's not just Build-A-Bear that is incredibly well staffed. The Apple Store, if you're ever looking for a job, folks, and you know anything about computers, I just suggest going there because you turn around, there's 5 other guys or women coming out with Apple shirts on. So Gordon got his computer back and it's at full speed. Then we were going to go get his medication. Unfortunately, I dropped him off in front of Walgreens. You can't go into the pharmacy. It's only drive through. And drive through, it looked like, McDonald's
At
on a
midnight.
Monday
Yeah.
morning, or at
Yeah.
midnight. Yeah, exactly. That goes to show you our two different lifestyles. You're like at midnight. I'm like in the morning. It was packed, so I couldn't get Gordon his meds. I felt like I let him down, but we did get his laptop fixed. So that was Wednesday's edition of Travels with Gordon and Kevin.
Yeah. And I did get my meds a day later, so all is all is well. So
Mhm.
I
So we
appreciate you
got.
driving me around. I feel it's weird. You're a great Uber driver. I gave you 5 stars every time. But it's weird being reliant on just friends and employees to just kind of like, hey, can you take me somewhere? And
Mhm,
then I'm embarrassed about where I want you to take me. I get to have a situation where like I really want to go somewhere that's just for me, but I
mhm.
can't drive, so I have to like, what would be the weirdest place I would ask you to take me to? Like, what if I was like, take me like to like, I don't know, like take me to a concert? No, that wouldn't be that weird because then you're like, all right, whatever, drop you off.
Yeah.
But, like,
Well, and at my age, with my life situation, that's the closest I'll get to a concert. So I probably would do that just to taste it, just to see what that feels like again. I would probably take you. Like if you said on Friday tonight at like 9 p.m., hey, can you drop me off at this bar? Now, given your medical condition, you shouldn't be going. But just in this world where you said that, I would probably do that because everybody in my
really?
house would everybody in my house would be asleep by then, and I'd be like, all right, it's either this or read the internet again. I'll go drop Gordon off, and that would be a little bit of fun. Now, if you called me to pick you up at 2 a.m., no, that would not happen. But like that 8:30 to 10 p.m. slot, that's Kevin's sweet spot right there. If
Yeah.
you want to ride.
Well, going to a bar is you can use Ubers. Like going to a mall, no one takes a Uber to the mall, so that's why I felt like I needed you to take me. Because like no one takes an Uber to
Someone
the
did
mall.
ask me. One of our mutual friends said, "Why didn't you just take an Uber?" And I didn't. And I was like, "Well, it's Ubers are expensive," and I took him somewhere else to his doctor's appointment, so it's fine. But I didn't think about that. You didn't want to go on an Uber because no one goes on an Uber to a mall.
Yeah.
Colt, you're young. Colt, you're young. Have you been inside an indoor mall before?
Uh, Not for like 10 years, probably. I mean, I
They
go
are
to like
Favorite
time machines, man.
there's like a movie theater inside of one that I sometimes go to, but like not to the actual mall part. Not like ever.
fav- favorite mall store, Colt, that
Ooh,
seems to only live in the mall.
oh. I used to really can't remember what it was called, but it was one of those like over the top candy shops that had like literally every
Oh,
kind of candy. Those are only in
ooh,
malls, and I
yeah.
don't know where they are anymore.
Gordon got really excited when he saw the finish line in their sporting goods store. He's like, "Oh my
It's just
god, a
so
finish line!"
weird seeing brick and mortar
Mhm.
stores. Like
Yeah.
it's like why does a finish line exist? Like who's gonna travel 20 minutes to Barton Creek Mall to buy a pair of running shoes? Like that's not what you do anymore. From an employee who probably knows nothing about running because they work at finish line. Like I
But it
don't
was
know.
pretty crowded, the whole
It
mall.
was.
Didn't it surprise you?
It's
That was
weird,
Wednesday
man.
afternoon. It was pretty crowded. Maybe people are just looking to get out here. All right, Gordon, we got an idea for a topic here sent to us by none other than Wallace Spearman just moments ago. Do you want to start with that, or do you want to start with talking about Devon Allen or talking about this violent altercation at a high school meet in Florida?
Let's start with the violent altercation at the high school
Okay.
meet in Florida, and then we'll talk about Wallace Farm. Yeah,
Okay.
you made a violent altercation. It's a very uh,
A kid punched another kid.
vocabulary word to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, this went viral. Um, so anytime track goes viral, you have to always be a little worried because it's usually something bad. This is from a high school meet in Florida. Apparently, the kid who everybody's seen it by now. I'm sure if you're listening to this pod, the kid who punched the other kid wasn't in the event. He was competing in some other event, apparently, and the kid who got punched, who was leading the race, um, ran into him or bumped into him an earlier stage of the race, and then that was the retaliation allegedly there, where he runs from behind and punches him in the face. You say, "Oh yeah, we've seen it all in track meets," and you see something like this. You're like, "All right, well, actually, no, I've never seen that." You've seen people get there's been fights before at track meets. There's been people pushing and shoving and punching, but somebody who's not even involved in the event coming on the track and hitting. I haven't seen that before.
My favorite part was like the people in the crowd, like, you're not allowed to do that. Like, there's one guy put you, what the, did you guys see? Like, everyone saw it. We all know you're not allowed to do that. I don't think we need
Mhm.
to. There's this guy who like, hey, you can't do that. You can't hit someone in the middle of a race. First of all, violence is bad, and hopefully the kid's okay. And I'm sure he's not happy to be the butt of jokes of getting hit. And also, what the other kid did is clearly not cool and should not be glorified. Blah 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 blah. All that stuff. That's all my preface. But it is just a wild thing to see happen. And we
Mhm.
talk about like random DQs that can happen in the races of like pushing and shoving. This is like not even trying to hide your intention.
Mhm.
It was just a wild thing to see. But it makes more sense knowing that the kid wasn't in the race, because that would have been even wilder if that other kid was in the race and he was doing
Mhm.
that as a mode of trying to take the lead. Like that would be, because what he's all right. I'm in the lead now, and I'm going to win the final lap. Like that would be
Yeah.
weird. It makes more sense that it was a bystander doing the act than someone who's trying to make a pass. Because if it was
Yeah.
actually someone trying to win the race, that's like, it's like, dude, you do know you're gonna get DQ'd, bro. Like you're not gonna win this race. So it
Yeah.
makes more sense that it was a bystander doing it, but the video makes it look like he was in the race.
Mhm. On that video clip that you mentioned, also, there's one of them that has very salty language from someone in the stands too. So if people are watching that and you're at work, just make sure you bring the volume down a bit there, because there's several expletives in a row, along with the famous "you can't do that," which I think everybody understood the moment that it happened. Just you see something new every year. I feel like
Do you think?
like you watch it, just it looks so out of place, right?
Yeah,
It look because obviously anybody who's been on the internet has seen videos of people getting into fights with each other. Even if you try to avoid it, you can't. But to see it take place on a track during a race, it just looks so strange to watch it.
idea. Got an idea. New sport. You know how they came up with like slam ball, where you like trampolines, those like gymnastics and dunking with basketball. Remember that slam
Hmm.
ball? Remember that sport?
I do. Yeah.
Let's give 400-meter dash or mile, make it a mile, 8 people on the track, and they all got boxing gloves on. And boxing is an element of the running. The only rules is you can't step off the track to avoid a punch. You got to stay on the track. Do you think people would like this sport, the cross between
No.
boxing and running, like box
No.
running,
Let's not.
I'd be
boxer
very into
Let's
the
running?
not do
sport.
this.
I'd be very into the sport.
So Cole, our producer, would love it. You would watch it. Again, everyone is going in with the expectation like we're fighters, but we also have to run a mile. So it's like,
Hmm.
what would be the
The
strategy?
back. Yeah. Well, it'd be really hard to stay balanced while running
Well,
forward and then moving sideways, wouldn't it? I don't
well,
know.
no. The idea is like, what would your strategy be if you? And the rules are you just have to win the race. So in a way, maybe a strategy is just be the fastest person and not get
Exactly.
hit,
Yeah.
right?
You just invented a regular race, is what you
And
did.
better than a regular race. But
That's a regular
obviously,
race.
if someone is near you, then you have, you know, techniques
Mm.
of how to like punch someone while, I think it would introduce some type of strategy. Like, all right, the plan is, try to just get the lead and wait for someone to come up on you and then be prepared for, always, I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting run. So if we can find 8 willing people who are trained boxers or former trained boxers who
Hmm.
also can run like a decent mile or a decent 800, see what happens. I would love to watch it.
I think you and Colt at the bill for that first group. I saw that nobody's pressing charges. TMZ reported that nobody pressing charges. Again, TMZ is on the story, which shows you where we're at with this.
I
All right.
remember I remember when TMZ Sports was first launched like
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because TMZ realized like there's a lot of stuff going on in sports and we need to kind of hit
Yep.
that beat for TMZ Sports. And when that first launched, my mother emailed me like, "Hey, this might be a good job opportunity for you to work for TMZ Sports. I was like, Mom, I'm not going to work for TMZ Sports. But it was a fun thing. My mom's like, you love sports and media. It'd be
Hold
great.
on. Yeah, hold on. Why were you so resistant to it?
I don't know. I never, for the past 30 plus years, I've never been dreaming of like, where I want to go into? TMZ sport gossip reporting. Like that was never my
So,
thought. So
so were you offended that your mom thought of you?
I don't know if I was offended. No, I just like, Mom, that's not like something that you just apply for. I
Mm,
don't like walk into the TMZ headquarters and be like,
yeah.
I would be your number one employee for posting blurry videos of altercations among athletes. Like
Yeah.
it's not a skill set that I
Parent
think I have.
Parents are really good about recommending jobs that their kids are way underqualified for, but they think they would just do great. You would just be
Yeah.
great at the Washington Post. Yeah, never thought of that. I'll get right on it. You
Oh,
My
should be.
my parents
You
hit
should
me
have your own
with
Netflix show.
you should just be announcing like Sunday Night Football. Why aren't you doing that?
this is not Sunday
When
Night
did they say
Football.
that? When did they say that?
I was in like high school. It was ridiculous.
Oh, okay. So it was a future thing.
Yeah.
Do they still send you job postings?
I don't think they really understand what I do, to be honest. I think they just know it's on the internet, and that is enough information for them at this point.
So they'll send you, but that could be good too, because then they could send you any internet job. Like if
Yeah.
Zuckerberg gets bounced for some reason, they could be like, "Hey, Colt,
New
honey,
CEO of Meta, Holt Joyce.
you do the internet, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Zuckerberg's gone. You could jump right in." Yeah, I get those. I used to get them a lot more than I do now, but they're always fun but then you have to explain, and it's a bit humbling. Hey, your son is not as qualified as you think he is. Sorry. Not necessarily doing the family name positive here. All right. Here's this Wallace Spearman question discussion topic. Ready, Colt? Gordon and
Yeah.
Colt. Colt, be ready.
You
This is
do
a
the
trap.
podcast
I'm
with
ready.
Colt now.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Colt, you're on. He just wants to know your favorite college track duo. Duo. So, and he floats out there, him and Tyson Gay at Arkansas, Warner and Darrell Williamson, Baylor, Norman and Benjamin at USC. Do you have a favorite duo, Gordon, either men or women of all time?
I don't know. Oh, all time.
Or
Well, I
right
know I
now?
saw I saw like Eli Hall tweet out me and Cam Burrell. That was a pretty good duo. When Eli
Mhm.
Hall and Cam Burrell were, I think they go 1-2 in the 100 or they went 1-3. I'm not sure.
The four by one too, as well.
And they had the 4x1. I'm trying to think of distance duo. Ches Jenkins was a pretty fun duo. They were going 1-2 and a lot of stuff. They had an interesting like couple moments where you're like, are they friends or not? Like, because there was a moment when
Yeah.
like, is Ches gonna always try to beat Jenkins? And then there was that moment where Ches says, "I let Jenkins win," and Jenkins is like, "No, you didn't. You were tired." There's a little bit of that. There's some side eye looks. Because Ches was the guy from Oregon and Jenkins was the incoming transfer, so there's a little bit of
Hmm.
that. But Ches Jenkins was a great duo on the distance side. Trying to think what else. On the women's side, who was a good duo on the women's side? Can you think of some?
I'm starting first with distance. I mean, there was that year, right, when a couple of years ago when Arkansas had the Arkansas BYU year, right? And Arkansas had two way up there, and BYU had three way up there. But it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't as consistent, I guess. Like they didn't stick together. They didn't stay together that long in terms of a bunch of years together. Um, I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there's some that we're not thinking of. I Back to his original tweet. The Benjamin Norman one is good, just because they had that video went viral where they're like literally in sync as they're preparing to get in the blocks in their race, and they both just dominated their event. But then they were able to come together and be on the 4x4 together, which I thought was cool. they didn't have to share an individual event. They each got their own spotlight, and then they had the relay where they were able to show out. And their event was similar enough to where they could work out together. So you really got a feeling like, hey, if one guy's in shape, the other guy's going to be in really good shape too.
Yeah. It's all,
We talked about you talked about
well, go.
Florida women though at the last pod having potentially 3 people for the Bowerman. I don't. It's not even a
Yeah,
duo; it's a trio. Um,
trio.
that's a current one. I mean, you go back in time. At the moment we didn't think about it, but Sydney McLaughlin and Jasmine Camacho Quinn, that one aged really well for Kentucky
Yeah.
because they both went on to become hurdle Olympic champions in the same year, though not when they're at Kentucky.
What about, I mean, Oregon, was there any like good 1-2 punch? I mean, could you say Wheating and Centro? Were they together at the same time?
Right, right, right. Yeah. I mean, the problem with that Oregon distance crew is there was so many
Yeah.
spanning a bunch of years. The ones where I really thought, I'm talking about recent too. I'm not going like pre 2010 or even pre 2000 here. The one that stands out, you're right, is the Jenkins and Ches group duo. But after that and before that, it always seemed like there was just a steady stream of people, right? Like you had like obviously Rupp, Acosta, Fleet, right? You could just go on with, and then later, you got the Gregorics of the world. Um, so I don't know. I don't know about that one in terms of who. If you had to narrow it down to two, it might be tough to get it to two. I mean, Hoare and McDonald on the distance side. That's a good one.
Yeah. They were good. I'm just trying to think of like, I think Ches and Jenkins was the ultimate, like, they were going 1-2 in like races all the time, and they were in the
Hmm.
same event. So that was always like interesting. I'm trying to think of more sprint ones. It's like hard to come up with. Like my brain
Hmm.
is like trying to go through every year and like, all right, who won? And like, all right, who got second in all these years, and try to
Yeah.
figure out the 1-2 punch of all of them. But yeah, I mean, one duo that's kind of not talked about because they weren't like a 1-2 punch like in races, but they always had like the same time at the end of every year. Like
Mm.
they always had the same PB every year, and now one has since uh, kind of separated himself from the other in the post
Hmm.
college. But Joe Klecker and I can't believe I forgot the name. What's Oh my god, why did I forget his name? I feel stupid now.
Talking about
Who's Joe?
Herrera or
Who's
Dressel?
No? Who's Joe Klecker's teammate? Oh my goodness,
John
I feel
Dressel?
like John. Yeah, John Dressel. Sorry, John. I
Hmm.
apologize. So Dressel and Klecker, they always had the exact same PB for like their 4 years together. They're always
Hmm.
like, all right, we both run 13:36. Okay, now we both run 13:32. Okay, now we both
Yeah.
run 13:28 or something like that. But they always
Yeah.
were kind of side by side. Stanford had some good
Um,
duos.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this
Ooh.
tweet though. It's the ones he's bringing up. You basically have to win an NCAA title to be in
Yeah.
this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got
I'll call that
a
the
recent
Robert
one, right?
Brandt best duo, the Robert Brandt Award
Dude,
of duos.
yeah,
Joe Klecker and
all
John
Amer-
Dressel. The
all
All American
American, but
duo.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So A&T has potential this year because they had Randolph Ross and Javante Harding each win an individual title at indoors, so they could be one moving forward. I guess Grant Holloway and whoever else, just anybody and Grant Holloway throw in as a duo because he was so good. Um,
So,
yeah, like I'm thinking about like a couple years ago, right? USC women, we thought they could sweep every sprint and hurdle event, but it wasn't just two. There was this big group of them, which is what made them so formidable. So it's hard to narrow that down to just two.
yeah,
I'm sure we're missing an obvious one.
we are. But,
I was thinking, I mean,
they'll just be missed.
Kaladi and Kurgat could have been one. Like
Yeah.
Kurgat wins, and then Kaladi gets really good. So they never seem to be at the peak of their powers at the exact same time.
Yeah. And like as soon as Claudia started rising, Kirkhout was kind of falling off. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they were fun because they both have K's as their last name. So you could like, just like alliteration,
Easy to
which is
say.
always fun.
Yeah, easy to say.
Kaladi and Kurgat. I don't know. My brain is trying to go through every NCAA permutation of who's been good and who's not. I don't really remember
Yeah.
most of the 90s and stuff like that. So like Wallace Spearman and Tyson Gay is going to be the only one I'm going to get from that era. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, here I'll read some cross champions. That might help jog your memory. This is women from 2000 on. Carrie Gaucho, Tara Chaplin, Flanagan twice, Kim Smith, Joanna Nielsen, Sally Kipiego 3 times, Bizzari, Reed, Sena, D'Agostino, Avery, Seidel, Schweizer, Kurgat, Jones, Kaladi, Chalangat, Orton.
Did Jordan Hissey have like a sidekick at Oregon?
Well, Pappas went there for her 5th year, didn't she?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but it
What was
wasn't.
that?
Yeah,
Oh,
forget.
I just remember that video of her cheering at the Stanford invite for her. You remember that?
No.
I thought, didn't FloTrack post that video?
Am I gonna remember every video? Come on.
It
Been here
was
eight
like
and a half
popular.
years. Okay.
It was virally. It was track
It
viral.
was
I'll say
viral
that.
before viral. It was
It
viral
was
before viral.
viral-ish. It was viral adjacent because she was screaming like all these crazy things at her. It was funny. Um, yeah, that would be the one. That's the one person that jumped to mind. I'm sure there's somebody else in there. It's a good topic though.
I think Ches and Jenkins is the ultimate duo. I'm gonna go with that.
How many? It'd be fun to look up how many points they scored collectively.
I mean, for 2 years, indoor and outdoor, they were just always 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. It was just like insane.
Yeah.
Did they go 1-2 at cross? They went 1-2 at cross, didn't they? They
Which
did.
year?
Yeah, they went 1-2 in 2016.
Let me look it up.
2016.
20, 2016 cross. Oh, dang it. It's wrong
I think
page.
it's
Hold on.
2016. No, maybe it's not 2016. Maybe it's
Are
2014.
you sure? Okay. Yeah, I
2014.
was to say, I don't.
2014, yeah.
Okay.
14, 15, or 16. One of those years. They went 1-2.
14. Jenkins was second. First
Yeah.
was none other than Edward Cheserek.
Edward Cheswick.
For NAU, it's tough too. For NAU, it's tough because you got a lot of people. Got a lot of people to pick from. Like Day and Baxter was good,
Yeah.
but that was that's not that's team titles. It's
Yeah.
not individual. I'm trying to think who had good DMRs because then that usually indicates you got a couple good mid distance people that you could throw in there. But yeah, let us know. Let us know. Who's your favorite collegiate duo of all time? I mean, the ones that he proposed, I think, are some of the best on the men's side of things. Like him and you go back and you look at what Spearman and Tyson Gay did in college. You look at what Rye and Michael Norman or Warner and Williamson did at Baylor. It's pretty nuts. I'm sure there's another good 400 one at A&M or Baylor, like another historical one for them. I mean, what about jumps? What about Christian Taylor and Will Clay?
Were they in college at the same time?
Yeah, they were, right? Let me look. I'm pretty sure. I have memories of them being in college at the same time. And I think Craddock was there as well, too. They overlapped at least a little bit. There might actually be a lot in the field events if you think about it, because they kind of gravitate to the same spot. So, let's see, 2013. Sorry, it's taking too long.
It's all right.
Well, it was 11. It was 11, right? Yeah, I know we got time. 2011. Will Clay got because I remember looking at their records against each other Yeah, they were there. They overlapped. The records, if you look at the all-time Christian Taylor Will Clay battle, it goes back into college. It's not just their pro records against each other. So, yeah. Yep, 1-2 in 2011 NCAAs. That one's hard to beat. And because you look at what they became too. Um, Talked about Oregon earlier. Got some news out of Eugene. Devon Allen says he's going to pursue football after this track season. He's participating in Oregon's Pro Day, which is today. And for those of you not familiar with how football works in the NFL draft, Pro Day is where college campuses hosts their athletes who have aspirations to become pros or former athletes in the case of Devon Allen. Obviously, he's several years out of college, but they'll put on a pro day and they'll basically show off for the scouts their football abilities, and it helps or hurts that person's draft stock depending on how they perform. So Allen initially, do you remember Gordon in 16 when he went pro and said, I'm going to do track? He said, I'm going to win the gold, get the world record, then I'll come back and do football. Hurt himself twice in football, blew out ligaments in both of his knees during his time at Oregon, was a good receiver for Oregon, but obviously injuries were an issue. Goes on, makes the Olympic team in 16. We saw him last year run really well, got his PB down to 12:99. What do you think? What do you think about this decision? I mean, there's a quote in there that basically says, hey, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it now. I'm not getting any younger. If I'm going to take a shot at this, I should do it.
Yeah, and I think, how much of a factor of him doing it is him looking at the landscape of the hurdles and recognizing Grant Holloway's not going anywhere. Grant Holloway's only going to get faster. Grant Holloway's probably going to break the world record, right? Now, I say that, and look at just last year, he had the second fastest time in the world last year. So
Yeah.
it's not like he is like falling off the map. But if you look at 60-meter hurdle marks, why isn't they update this? I'm just trying to look at 60 in the 60-meter hurdles. He's sixth and a far sixth. Like he ran 750, but like Grant Holloway's running 729, and Trey Cunningham in college is running 738. There's 3 Americans ahead of him. Now, I think, and Daniel Roberts and Jared Eaton are like basically the same as him. So he's probably looking at the landscape like, I'm probably already, whether I like run for 3 more years or don't run for 3 more years, my track career is probably going to be the same regardless of the extra 3 or not. Like I'll be able to retire track athlete as running extremely well, good marks, making world teams and being contentions for medals. Has he ever won a medal? Has he won a world medal yet? Okay. And he probably looks at, winning a world medal in Eugene would be the ultimate moment for him in 2022. And he probably thinks like nothing's gonna get better than that. So I think he's just looking at the landscape of the hurdles and it's like, all right, might as well just try one last shot at football. Perfect scenario would go out, get a medal in 2022 in Eugene, and then all of a sudden you make you get to play football in the fall of 2022 and see how long that goes until you retire, and like kind of go out like that. But it's going to be really hard for him to make a 53-man roster. Like it is so hard to make a 53-man roster because there's not a lot of spots. You think, oh, there's 53 spots. Actually, there's not 53 spots. He's a wide receiver. There's like 6 spots, right? 3 of them or 4 of them are probably already given from the team from the previous year. So really, everyone is just fighting for 2 spots, and you're going up against a 4th-round draft pick. And ownership is going to be like, why'd you draft this guy if you're going to go with Devon Allen, All the first round, all the draft picks have preferential treatment. So it's just really, really hard. Probably his best case scenario is he makes a practice squad, which in this situation probably pays well, right? Practice squads are making more than
Yeah.
track athletes. So, the goal would be to make a practice squad, stay on the team, and then injuries happen by December, and all of a sudden you get called up and you score 2 touchdowns in a game, and then all of a sudden coaching staff recognizes you, and then 2023 you're making it your real deal, and all of a sudden you're going up against Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl.
Man, Gordon
Yeah,
just
that's
laid
what
it
it is.
all out
Just
for
laid it
Devon
all out.
Allen. It is going to be difficult, but I think he just wants to see. He just wants to see if he
Yeah,
can do it. And I believe him that initially his plan when he went out, he loved track and he loved football and he wanted to do both. And he thought, all right, let's check the box on track first. Running really well right now. I'll get this gold. I'll get this world record, and then I'll move over. But then, yeah, the years go by, injuries happen, and other people emerge, and it gets more and more difficult. And then you look up all of a sudden, hey, I'm now in my late 20s. I need to, if I'm going to do this, I basically need to do this now, and I want to see if I can do it. The financial component, too, is obviously a huge part in a lot of these decisions sometimes. Like Marvin Bracey talked about on this pod, right? The amount of money that you can get in football is just drastically different than it is in track and field. So I remember Jeff Demps a while back. It seems like he would just sort of like bounce back and forth between track and football. I also think Allen's thinking, hey, this is my window to do it. And if it doesn't work out, then he could still go back to track. Whereas if he waits until his times start to decline in track, well, that probably means that on the football field he's not going to be as quick either, and then he may not be able to make the move back to track if he wanted to. But ran really well last year. I mean, when you set a PB, you got to feel good about your chances going into the next season. That event is just so tough with what Holloway is capable of doing, but I understand it from just a curiosity standpoint, from the perspective of he had this plan all along and there's stuff that derailed him earlier on, but hey, now he's been healthy. He said he's been doing football stuff to get back in shape for football specifically. He said it was like riding a bike. Why not just give it a shot? I mean, 27 is quote unquote old in terms of athletics, but it's not old in terms of your whole life. So you have the opportunity now. You have this window. Go for it.
that's a good quote. 27 is old in terms of athletics, but it's not old in your whole life. And you give that to every 27-year-old out there who has peaked in their athletic ability.
Yeah,
Be great.
because it only goes downhill from there.
It does break collarbones.
Yeah, fall off your bike. All sorts of things can go wrong. He had bad luck in football at Oregon, right? Those are both non. I know one of them because I was literally in the stands at the Rose Bowl when he tore his ACL the first time, non-contact. I think the second one was non-contact as well too. So he's due for some good luck, and hopefully it all works out for him, and he gets exactly what he wants out of it. Fun story to watch. I mean, he wasn't one of those guys, Gordon, who was just really fast, and then the football coach was, "Hey, you, go run straight down the field, and we'll throw the ball to you." No, he was a good football player. He had skills on the football field. He had gotten reps in. He wasn't one of those guys who was just talking about how I can play football. Because sometimes it goes both ways. We talk about the football guys who say, "Well, I can run track." There are some track people out there who are like, "I can play football. I can do that. It's no problem." And then they've never been hit before. And then once they get hit, they're not for me. Not for me at all. I'm out. Allen wasn't one of those guys. He was a football guy, and he was a track guy. Um, so I think, obviously, I don't know the makeup of every single team's needs right now in the NFL. I agree with you, though. It will be very challenging. But I think just based on the fact that he has played, his speed is still there. I think he wouldn't do it if he thought he had no chance. I think he has a pretty good indication, having played, what it takes to play. at that level. So I give him a pretty good shot.
Put him in Atlanta. Marcus Mariota, his old quarterback's there.
That's man, Colt. Bringing back good memories there. You also got not his quarterback, but another Oregon quarterback, Justin Herbert, in
Very
San
true.
Diego. Or sorry,
Okay.
not San Diego, Los Angeles. Shows how old I am. The old San Diego Chargers. Is there another other than Grant Holloway? Is there another person you want to see try to make it in the football field from track, Gordon?
Other than Grant Holloway, I mean, Donovan Brazier
I
wants to
just
do it,
figured.
right? Want to see
There
Donovan
you go.
be a
Yeah.
punt returner? I mean, I would want to see Krauser be an offensive lineman. See like what happens there. Want to
What
see
happens there?
put in Johannes Vetter for the Hail Mary play. So
Mhm.
they're on the 1 yard line and a touchdown. You can throw it into the end zone.
Mhm.
Mondo
Best
just do
javelin
that
throwers.
over the goal line. Mondo just like
Mondo.
jump over
Yeah.
the goal line, back over the line.
He would need to use the yard markers to help him. That's the only problem. You can't use props in football.
I
I'd
do
have a
wish
serious question though.
I do wish there was kicking as a track and field event. That would be fun. Because we have jumping and throwing. What we should have kicking. Then
Oh, just straight up field goal, like, or just like you kick an object and see how far it goes. Basically,
yeah,
javelin with your feet.
javelin with your
Can we
feet.
call it foot? Can we call it foot javelin? Is
Yeah,
that a
foot
cool
javelin.
name?
Foot javelin. Foot jav. Just call it foot
Foot
jav.
jab.
Or
Hey,
jab
how
foot.
far did you go on the foot jab? 20
I
meters.
mean, you'd have the problem with it. You need to make the element heavy enough so they can
to break your
kick the
foot.
ball within a stadium, venue.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to be too heavy because then you break your foot. So it's like, what's that perfect balance where you don't break your foot from hitting it?
Yeah, it needs to have a little bit of weight into, like, not as far as a medicine ball that would obviously break your, but it needs to be rubberized
Yeah,
like a medicine ball. Yeah. People are talking about cut and track events. Let's add more.
there you go.
Let's add the foot jab to 2022. Here's my question for you, Gordon. I was thinking about this the other day. You have $1 million on the line.
Got it.
Your job is to select who is going to anchor a relay where you have this $1 million bet. And the relay is 4x4. And it's run by countries. So it's just like the Olympics, just like the World Championships. But in this scenario, you don't know the other 7 teams involved, but the U.S. gets the baton 0.5 seconds behind everybody else. You have $1 million on the line. Who's your anchor for the U.S., men and women?
When's the race?
Right now.
Right now, not tomorrow, not this summer, but right now.
Right now.
Okay, so or it's happening in 3 minutes. The race already started.
We're in
I
the
gotta figure out my
backstretch
anchor
of the
now.
third lap. The backstretch has happened.
Okay, so the person's coming. I
Colt's
got
coming.
pick. I got like
Colt's got a
20
clock on
seconds
it.
to figure out who's going to
Yeah.
be on this anchor. Okay.
One of these answers is easy. One of them is hard.
Okay. One of them is easy. One of them is hard.
For the women, I think it's a little easier. For the men, I think it's very difficult. But I have a
For the
strong feeling
women,
about the men.
I'm going to Thing Mo. Yeah.
Same.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I'm not doing Allison. I'm not. We haven't seen her training. I have no idea. Sydney and Dalila, they also could be not 100% right now because they didn't do indoor. At least the thing showed that she did something indoors. So, a Thing Mo. Or maybe I should change the rules to like this summer because I don't want to eliminate someone just because they didn't run indoors.
Yeah, that wasn't my point of
Okay.
saying it's right now. My point of saying it's right now is it's not, hey, in 3 years, this person's going to
Yeah. A Thing
definitely
Mo for the
be able
women.
to split a 42. Okay.
Okay, for the men, I can give you nominees.
Okay, but you're going to have to pick somebody because it's $1 million and they're coming around the curve right now.
I
Colt is
know.
watching the
So
race.
nominees would be, I would think Rye Benjamin. I would think Randolph Ross. I would think Michael Norman. I would think Fred Curley. I would think
Michael Cherry?
Michael Cherry. I would think. Okay, I would not do Michael Norman. I would not do Ry Benjamin. I would not do Cherry. I think it would be between Grant Holloway, Randolph Ross, and Fred Curley. I think those would be my
I like
final
how you.
three who I
I
would
like how you
choose
threw
between.
Holloway in there.
Yeah.
I like how you
Yeah.
always include Holloway.
Gotta always include Holloway.
Okay.
And for Holloway, I would have to have a conversation with him. I have to sit him down because I know I only have 15 seconds left. And I'm like, yo, Grant, have you been like, should I do this? And he'll tell me like yes or no. And I'll be like, drink, take, yeah. He'll be like, he'll tell me the truth. Because he'll tell me if like, no, I can run 43 seconds or no, I can't. So Fred Curley, I would consider, but as good as Fred Curley is, I would think about 2017
Mm-hmm.
when Fred Curley got walked down by Trinidad and Tobago. Was it 2017 when that happened?
Yeah.
So that would be in my mind. Now, again, that was 5 years ago. And Fred's a new man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a different man. He was a boy then. He's a man now.
Yeah.
And so in these 20 seconds, I would need Fred to give me a one sentence reason why that won't happen again. And if he's convincing enough in his one sentence reason why he's not going to
Yeah.
let me down, like in 2017, then I would
Mm-hmm.
consider him. So he needs to tell me why 2017 won't happen again. Grant Holloway needs to tell me if he's even run over 110 meters in the past like 80 days. And then Randolph Ross, I would have the most trust in him because I just saw him run incredibly well. But he didn't run that well in the 4x4 because he was tired.
Exactly.
So I thought that's Randolph Ross.
Yeah.
Hey man, are you tired right now? Did you just do a
See,
workout?
And as they round the third corner, there's three men waiting for the handoff, and Gordon Mack conducting an interview with them. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm conducting interviews. All right, so I would, I think I would pull Grant because there's just too much unknown. Because Grant, if it was college Grant, then I would keep him on there. So it'd be between Curley and Randolph Ross, and I think at the end of the day, I think I would do Curley. I mean, he's showing that he's fit. He's ran 9.99, 20 flat, 44 seconds. Gotta do Curley. So I would erase 2017 from my memory and be like, Curley, go for it. Give me my $1 million. Plus, Curley is going to be like, you're giving me all the million. The problem with Curley is he's probably going to ask for all the $1 million because he's been tweeting that he's worth $1 million. And he's going to be like, Gordon, you don't get the $1 million. I do. So then because of that, I might have to switch it to Randolph Ross, who won't ask for the $1 million. He'll only ask for an NIL deal of $1 million.
How about instead you just owe $1 million if you lose? How about that? So you don't have to worry about that part of the question. The fact, though, that you had questions about all three of those guys is part of the reason why I would pick someone completely different than the three you mentioned. I would pick a guy where there are no questions, a guy who's been in numerous high-pressure 4x4s in his career, and he always delivers. And that's Ry Benjamin. I would just feel real confident that you'd get a solid run from Ry Benjamin. Because as I said, you're getting the stick maybe half second behind. You're not getting the stick 2 seconds behind or a second behind. You just need a really solid leg here. Something in the 43s obviously get you in the mix. And I just feel like Ry, he's come in this fictitious scenario, he's coming off the 4-meter hurdles where, again, he's always performed at the big meets in the 4-meter hurdles. Now you can say he lost to Warholm. All right, lost to the greatest of all time. And Ry Benjamin gave him a good race both times. So he's coming with a little extra motivation, though, Gordon, if he lost to Warholm. And if he beat Warholm, he's on cloud 9. And he's just going to keep that momentum rolling. And he's going to win this 4x4. So I feel really strongly the answer is Benjamin.
Yeah, I don't know. Benjamin is too he's too consistent
for me.
because
That's what I
his
want.
floor and ceiling are so close to each other. It's just I don't like it. I want to look up and feel like, ooh, maybe I get something great. Even though I
Well,
know I
it's
look down and it's bad, but I can look up and it's great. So, Ryan
hold
Benjamin is
on. The reason is
too safe for me. I want to live a little wild. If I'm putting $1 million on a line, I want to get my blood pressure moving.
the reason his floor and ceiling are close together is because his floor is on the 15th story. Basically, he
No,
doesn't
oh,
he
I know
doesn't fall
that.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of his college splits. They're
No,
insane.
yeah, I know.
In that indoor 4x4, right? He had that for
Okay,
USC where
we're
they.
doing indoor 4x4 college splits. Come on, what are we doing now? Those aren't.
My point is, I want a guy who has experience in big moments handling pressure because I have $1 million on the line.
Yeah.
That's my point. Now, it's not his money, so maybe he doesn't feel any pressure. But I want to know that person has been in tough spots and they've always come through. Yeah, he's 43-3. Split
Yeah, like
43-3
you
on
you you
at,
want.
at the Olympics. That's at the Olympics, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it makes sense. In like basketball terms, Ryan Benjamin is like Kevin Durant. No, Kevin
Yes.
Durant's too good for. No, he's more like, who is he? He's more like Klay Thompson.
No, I
Yeah.
think he could be Durant, and if you're looking at the entire league, you could say, well, then that makes Warholm LeBron.
No, well, assuming the top four guys in the NBA are in no particular order: Durant, Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic. Okay, so
Okay, I'm talking about his whole career. Okay, go ahead.
no, we're talking about right now.
All right,
Durant
so
has the
let's
most
talk about the Sixers.
experience.
Yeah,
I think Randolph
go ahead.
Ross is Embiid. That's what I'm going with. That's
Okay,
all I wanted to get at. Yeah.
hold on. So Benjamin is how would Benjamin be Klay Thompson in that scenario when you just name the
Yeah,
four
I'm taking that
best?
out. No, yeah. Benjamin is Jokic.
All right, who's KD? Curly?
KD's Curly. And then Giannis is Norman. That's my
All
four
right,
by four
I don't.
right there.
And they pass off the baton.
I would
Gordon
watch
is
that four by
yelling,
four NBA
"Go
guys
Jokic, go!"
running the
Yeah,
four by four.
Gordon is yelling the names of NBA players at 4x4 runners and saying, "I have $1 million on this." I thought it was an interesting exercise because with the men it is tricky. So, all right,
Anything
that's it.
else? That's
No, I
it.
think that's it.
Simple
Enjoy.
pod.
Yeah, yeah. West Coast Relays, Stanford invite Mike Finale Track Classic live on FloTrack this weekend. Or today actually. You can watch all that action. Way back on Monday. Remember, do the pickup contest. Get the QR code. You can text Gordon or Kevin 31032. Text us your thoughts as you're watching track this weekend. Just send a text, send an email, leave a comment. We'll talk about it all on Monday. Florida Relays as well. It's gonna provide a lot to chat about on the topic of 4x4s. We might have a new pick for our person based on the
It's
four by
true.
fours this weekend. Maybe Noah Lyles
It's
goes
true.
out and splits 43-1,
Ooh,
and then we all
yeah.
feel silly about it. Thanks to Travis. Thanks to Colt for producing. Gordon, hope you feel even better on Monday. We'll talk to you guys then.